Hello, everybody. After a bit of a summer break, we are back. It is Mark and Chris.
Hello.
The Burke and Vasquez of video game development.
Has anyone ever mistaken you for a man?
No. Have you? I watched it the other day, mate. Because Alien Romulus is out, right?
I've seen it.
Oh, have you?
I went to see
What
it.
do you think?
I went to see it yesterday.
What do you think?
I think that if we forget about Alien and Aliens, it's the best Alien film ever made.
Nice. That's good.
That's
good. I mean, they are it's a very, very, very high bar.
Yes. I mean, Alien and Aliens, James Cameron and Ridley Scott. I mean, that's two pretty legendary directors to go up against.
Yeah.
And they were two pretty amazing genre-defining films for their time. I would say, actually, Aliens... In the video game industry, Aliens is the more influential work, actually. I think Aliens is a huge influence on the video game industry. Because that whole Vietnam in space versus the aliens thing is basically almost every video game, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Aliens are classic too. And then they've just gone full Star Wars since then, haven't they? You know what I mean? It's like one of those franchises that's kind of like a pale shadow of what it once was.
Yeah.
But if you forget about Alien and Aliens, they're pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's interesting. I've heard mixed things. I recently watched Aliens with the kids. With my two.
Really?
And
That's quite a scary film to watch with a couple of young'uns.
It's all right. 10 and 12 they are now.
Yeah.
Right? And it's all right. It's not that bad. Alien, no, I wouldn't do it. Right? Because Alien is the horror movie, and then Aliens is the.
Well, and also they don't have the necessary. Attention to sit through an hour of slow build horror. I imagine.
Yeah.
Because I noticed in Alien Romulus, I can feel the Marvelization of movies. You know what I mean? The pace of it, the sheer bloody pace of it, like the speed with which they're on a starting planet, and then they're on a spaceship, and then they've met the alien, and then the alien's reproduced, and it's all happened like unbelievably fast. The sort of stuff that takes days in the storyline of Alien and Aliens.
Yeah.
It's happened within like the first few scenes, and it's like, yes, I remember now. Young people don't have an attention, do they?
Well. That's what the movie, just what Hollywood thinks that thinks they don't. Whereas actually, I think something's definitely changed about it.
Yeah.
But the thing about Alien is the creature is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best movie creature that has ever been created, right? Geiger's vision for that xenomorph is just
and its horrific life cycle and the way that it attaches itself to another life form and then bursts out and stuff. It's like, who the hell came up with that? You sick fuck.
Exactly. and then the whole hive mind. It's brilliant.
The animal intelligence and everything. Yeah, it makes it terrifying, doesn't it? I think Alien and Aliens got that just right.
Yeah. And it got lost after that, didn't it?
Yeah.
I can't remember which is the one. Which doesn't Ripley have a baby with it in Alien 3 or
That's
something?
like number 4, isn't it? That's when they started to really lose the plot at that point, I think.
Yeah.
But it's still an enjoyable movie. Again, if you just forget about the first two. It's like watching Star Wars and forgetting about the first 3 movies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's reasonable science fiction fantasy if you think about it that way. But if you try and compare it, it's like, this is awful. And I think that if I was to criticise Alien Romulus, I would say that it had basically nothing new. Like it was a remix. Do you know what I mean? It's like like made again. It's like I've made another Alien film. It's the same as the other Alien films. All the same stuff happens, and they sort of they did that thing that they do where they just revive an old character for absolutely zero reason, and it's all like bad computer graphics. You know how like in the Mandalorian and stuff, like they've revived like Luke Skywalker and stuff, and the CG is never quite right. It doesn't look like 1970s Mark Hamill. His mouth is wrong. It just instantly looks wrong. You're watching it going like, that looks awful. That's AI. It's horrible. And it's right there on screen, and you just think, why have you done this? Just
it's a gimmick, isn't it?
A new character. Just put someone new in.
It's a gimmick. It comes from a cynical marketing perspective, not a wholesome filmmaking perspective, right? No self respecting scriptwriter is going to sit down and write, and here is a cameo from a dead person, right? They're just not going to do it, right?
No,
but
because it's pointless. It's like
Yes,
it's like significantly more effort to CG model someone and then get a surrogate actor on set and then record their performance and then VR, whatever the AI replacement. It's like the tool chain required just to film those shots must be horrific. And the end result's rubbish. And you think, why don't you just have a different actor in?
And it lacks all emotional resonance, right?
Yeah.
If I wanted to have a theme of sort of beyond the grave touching forward, there's ways of doing that. You know, they did it brilliantly. Lucas did it brilliantly when he's got Obi-Wan, Yoda. Is it Obi-Wan, Yoda? You know, when they're sort of in blue, shining at the with the Ewoks. You know, like you feel that they're touched from the past.
Yeah. But they don't say
down
anything,
the ages.
do they? They're just kind of stationary. They don't have to hold like multiple scenes as the main antagonist.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Because like you say, it just doesn't create when you watch it. It doesn't create the emotional response of like, oh, this is a scary antagonist that I'm scared of. Who's he's going to mess up our crew. All it creates is this feeling of like, well, that actor's dead. Why is he here? It doesn't look at all right. You know.
Yeah.
And it just jars you right out of it, doesn't it? I don't know why they do it. It's really weird.
Well, I don't know who they think. I don't know. 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds? Are they the kind of people that go?
Well, they have no idea who he is. They're just like, why is Bilbo Baggins in this film?
Yeah, right.
But just like Star Wars, I feel like they've got the same problem: is that they're just completely a slave to their first couple of movies. You know what I mean? Like, to me, The Mandalorian was amazing because in Star Wars, it was different. Like, thank God, nobody's mentioned the Skywalker family. Nobody's mentioned the plans for the Death Star, right? In all this television, I'm loving it. It's the Star Wars universe, but it's completely unrelated, right? And then by the end of season 2, it's all fucking Luke Skywalker again, and like plans for the Death Star again, and there's fucking R2-D2 again, and it's like you've just dragged the whole thing back to the same old shit. And although at the start of this conversation I said I quite liked Alien Romulus, I'm changing my mind as I speak. I'm literally changing my mind.
Yeah.
It's a load of crap because it's like, why you just fucking dragged it back again? You know, just do something new. Just once. Do something fucking new.
So, are we? What is our channel, mate? Is it a film criticism channel?
I'm not really sure. Maybe that's it. Thanks for tuning in. That's Alpha 11.
Yeah, exactly.
See you in another 5 months.
We've done some work on a game, right? We better get this show on the road.
Should we actually enter the game? Do you think?
Yes.
I think probably because I think that one of the biggest things that we've changed from Alpha 10 and Alpha 9 is the complete removal of the industry Stargate startup, right?
Yes.
That was our tutorial for a very long time. So I'm sure everyone's familiar with it, but the idea was that you landed at a derelict space station and immediately started doing a tutorial for manufacturing Stargate parts, right? Which is fine, and the tutorial was pretty extensive. Like, it was a huge chunk of work, and it will find its way back. But at the moment, it's not there. We've removed it. Now, why the hell have we removed it? Because I think the reason why we removed it is that the industry approach to the game, like the Stargate building and all of that, is not what we considered to be like the core of the game. It was just a place where we started the player. It's like, this is an interesting starting point. But it gives completely the wrong impression. Like, the rest of the game is not about building a giant factory, like in Factorio. So it's like the tutorial ended, and you built like your first version of your Stargate factory, and then there was no more Stargate stuff in the rest of the game. It was all like the contract screen and doing missions, and and we wanted to go the way of doing more like handwritten episodes and things. So it's like, well, the Stargate project at the start of the game just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it was a mistake.
It was very long, wasn't it? It was grindy and click here and click there, and
it was,
I think it
was like 40 minutes long or something tutorial. Yeah. So we've sort of, Yeah, we had quite a big change of heart on that, and that's taken us a long time to get rid of that. It's interestingly, it's still there. All right, this is the JMC mining station that you would normally start on, right? It's still there. It's still for sale in the same system, but we now start you on just a much more regular, a regular ship. A runabout ship that's clearly designed. It's got some engines already. It's ready for jumping around the sector map.
It's just so much better. Even now, like the opening, watching the shuttle come in, brilliant. Straight away you're into this much more manageable little ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas the big,
skip this.
The big, the big sort of open JMC station it's static. It's not very interesting. There's a lot more dynamicism with this new opening.
Yeah, it was. Well, we sort of made this interesting choice, didn't we? Whereby the space station that we gave you was static, right? It's like this is like we're like Deep Space Nine. That's what we are.
Yeah.
And later on in the tutorial, you would get your runabout ship that was actually capable of doing FTL jumps to other systems. And then you would be off on adventures. But it just, I don't know. It was big. It took people ages to play that tutorial.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of had the feeling of like why are we investing so much player time in making this in making these Stargate parts when that isn't really where we intend to go? Like maybe I think maybe at one point we were thinking that it was going to be like full blown Factorio style industry simulation, in space. But not for very long. But we somehow ended up making the whole game like that. I don't know. We make mistakes, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And you look back and you could go, everything you're saying is obvious, right? Everything that you say is, you should have known that from the start. You could have worked that out. But yes, I think there's kind of truth in that. But when you're trying to push the boundaries, right? When you're trying to push into a different direction that you've not been in before, you don't necessarily want to identify all the issues and come up with the same solutions, because the solutions are the same that every game does, right?
Yeah.
And we try very hard to find new, I've said it, push the boundaries, to do things in a slightly different way. And that means that sometimes we are going to push in a direction that ultimately turns into a dead end. But I also had the realisation a little while ago that with PA we were very lucky, and I think the early access process with PA was very much like you were playing a game, the game was great, the structure was set up, and we could just lengthen that experience with every update. That's not been...
Well, the thing that every game developer knows, maybe gamers don't appreciate, is that early access has really changed as well. Right? I think that because early access was brand new for Steam when we launched Prison Architect, we were one of the early access launch games. There was a novelty to it, and there was an acceptance that the game that you were getting was going to be like that. But now the standards for early access are crazy high, because every indie does early access, and a whole bunch of commercial companies do early access. A lot of early access games are basically finished games that are just launched. Whereas we're in like this crazy situation. Like you and I are perfectly comfortable doing an early access with a game and then literally changing the genre of the game during early access. All right? And I don't think that doesn't make us uncomfortable that like people have bought the game and then we've made that kind of level of change. But it's not something that everyone is on board with. Like people feel that early access should be much more finished when they're paying for the game now.
Yeah, and I hope that we got the messaging right on that. I hope, and we might have been a bit lazy on it looking back. I don't think we did. I don't think we communicated just how much in development we were with the last Starship.
I'm not sure. We went into early access. It's like there was still tons to do, wasn't there?
Yeah, but I'm not sure that we knew that either. I think that's also part of it, right? If you look back to where we were a year or so ago, I don't think we'd quite run into all of these brick walls, right? And I think we had to get something out. Those of you that sort of followed Introversion, follow the channel, will know that we made the Fail Masterclass, which was the whatever it was. I can't remember how many there were, but all of the previous attempts to land a game, if you could say that, set in space.
This is like the fourth, isn't it? I think this is the fourth major attempt by us to make a space industry game.
Yeah.
And the previous three were very different, but they were all kind of on the same theme. Like they were all mechanically very different, but they were the same theme. And and I also noticed, slightly with horror, if I'm absolutely honest, that we're now almost 3 years into The Last Starship. It's a fucking massive project, isn't it? And
But
people don't.
We had to get it out.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
right.
the thing. We had to get it out because otherwise we were just going to be,
Bankrupt.
Well, yeah, there's that, but there's also we just screw it up and throw it onto the floor again. It's like a version of writer's block, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing that we need is a community out there pushing us to go forward.
I do sort of I do have it within me a fantasy of at some point in the future just making a game. Right, I know this sounds crazy. Just making a game and then just releasing that game in its finished form.
You can.
Can you imagine the lunacy?
No, well, you can do it, but it has to be really simple.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It has to be really simple.
It has to be really simple, or you have to spend like 8 years of your life developing it in secret. I think.
Yes.
Those are your two choices.
And I don't know that developing it for 8 years in secret actually works, right? I don't think it's a good approach to making games because you just don't know that the fastest you can interact with gamers, the better. That's what I think. Genuinely think that.
Yeah.
With the correct messaging, right? With the right messaging.
Well, I've noticed a lot more. I've noticed a lot more indies these days do actually subscribe to that same concept, but now don't bother with early access and actually release free demos. I've seen that become much more of a thing. Like early demos on itch. They don't even bother with Steam. They go straight to itch, where the sort of barrier for entry is lower and the expectation is lower as well, I think. And then they just develop in that tight cycle with players for a little while. And then, after doing that for quite a significant amount of time, they then consider themselves ready to jump to Steam Early Access where they can start charging money,
Yeah.
And
maybe we are out of step. Maybe we are a little bit out of lockstep. And like you say, early access is kind of like the 3 months before you hit V1, when you're really polishing.
I think it is that at the moment. But I also think that like 2 years ago it was completely different. And then 2 years from now it'll be completely different. And it just keeps fucking changing. And on the scale of like, we're 3 years into this project, at the start of this project that wasn't true. And then, at the end of this project, it'll be different again, won't it? I think there's only ever been one time when we were perfectly on the crest of the wave, and that was the launch of Prison Architect at the exact same moment as Steam Early Access coming into existence.
And there was also absolutely, and there was also luck involved with that, though, right? That PA was a great concept that came together, was really well executed. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It definitely took us a good sort of 6 months to get that opening chapter right, the opening experience, perfect. But it was just a lot easier on that game. And I think that's a little bit of a combination of, we landed, I can't remember, what's the name of the guy that made the video about game development as a search space?
Oh, yeah. I can't remember.
We'll put it in the description or something because it's, I want to shout out to him because it was really helpful
it's
video.
The guy that made Thronefall, isn't it? I can't remember what they're called.
But it was really interesting idea.
Prison Architect's concept was much clearer than the Last Starship's concept. Because the Last Starship's problem, I think, from the start, is that it hasn't had a... it's not a game about anything in the same way that Prison Architect was a game about something,
Yeah.
Space is not a genre or a theme. Right?
Or really a place.
Yeah, it's not a place. Space is nothing. Space is vast nothing in every direction. And that's the problem, So if you say I'm going to make a space game, that doesn't mean anything. And if you say I'm going to make a game set in space about space, you've just spoken a falsehood. In game development terms. Whereas Prison Architect had all that answered right from the start. I think it's been a much harder project, and also paradoxically, technically much harder. The Last Starship is technically a much more complex, difficult project. We're just sat here chilling. Here's our little contained world, and here's another whole spaceship flying by, just here running its own AI. This is like the complexity of Prison Architect. Just this one little ship flying through the system, and all the simulation that's going on board. And all of its utilities and cables and electrical systems and atmospheric simulation. And none of that really does us any favours, because from our point of view over here, it's just like a moving thing,
Yeah.
But that complexity has meant that every change we make has taken longer than it would have done in Prison Architect. And now that we're 3 years in, it's even harder again, because people that aren't game developers maybe don't know, but it's like pouring cement, you know? You pour cement and you're pouring and you're pouring and you're pouring, and it sets and it hardens. And now it feels like for the past 5 months since the last alpha video, it feels like we've been drilling away at that cement, you know, with our road drills, you know. I'm envisioning, in my mind, I'm envisaging Arnie Schwarzenegger at Total Recall, you know, talking to his mate.
Yeah.
What do you think about Recall? Recall? Yeah. Those brain butchers? Nah, man. You know, that's what it's felt like, hasn't it? Because it's like, it's a major undertaking. It's like taking Prison Architect and making it into a roguelike. You know, it's like we've done similar levels of things.
I don't think anybody ever said, you know, Introversion Software, God, they're quick.
No. I
don't think that's anything we've been associated with.
3 words that have never been spoken about introversion, isn't it?
Yeah, those introversion's slowware.
They are fit. We're a slow company. Yeah, I think we should have communicated that better, I think. But hey, you know, we're here, aren't we? All we can do is carry on, and we can't make it go faster. We can't make it happen twice as fast as much as we'd want to. And we can't when we want to make a big change, we're committing ourselves to many weeks of work, which we do repeatedly. I feel like we've had 3 major attempts to make the intro to this game now, every one of which has been many weeks in development. So let's draw a line under that philosophical musing, shall we?
There you go. Well, I think it was just moaning, really. Moaning and whinging.
Having a fucking moan.
I think it was just like Mark and Chris just whinging about how difficult it is making games.
It's so fucking hard, man. So fucking hard. Nobody appreciates it anymore. Okay, so enough of that shit. Right. Should we actually look at what we've done? What the hell have we done?
What have you done in the last 5 months?
So this is the intro to the game now, right? So like I was saying before, you start with this little ship.
I love the flying.
It's cool, isn't it? Yeah, it's nice flying, and you see we start in the space station like we're in dock.
Yeah.
And it's a much. I'm not going to play it, but it's a much tighter. It's a much tighter tutorial now. It's much shorter. It's really just about getting your engines and reactors and stuff online, and then an introduction to the contract screen about where you can actually find new missions. So that's all good. So that little thing there is like a huge chunk of work. So I've upgraded my ship a little bit, right? I've got some starting gear, right? There's no point in me playing through the tutorial during our video. So when we were last here, we were just talking about, we just started work on like these new episodes around March time this year. And this has kind of become our focus for a while, right? So the idea being that we want to create like a bunch of like handwritten, story-driven episodes, right, that drive the game forward and like give you, and they're a little bit tutorially, some of them, like in places. And what we've effectively done is we've taken that 45-minute tutorial that we created for the start of the game, and we've broken it up into loads of little bits. So when you happen to be doing some mining or some combat during the story missions, that's when those bits of those tutorials actually pop up, which I think makes a lot more sense.
Definitely.
So let's talk.
You get to the fun quicker.
Yeah, that's right. So for a very long time, in fact, since the birth of the game, you go to the contract screen, right? And this is where you find all the contracts that you can do in your ship. And this is still true, but you can see that these are like the auto-generated contracts, you know, that have always been there. Good way to make money. But now if you go to the sector map, you'll see something new, right? Ooh. We have these new little flashing gold things, right?
Yeah.
Right? This is where our episodes now live. Right? So at any point in time, if you pop up into your sector map, you'll find a little gold pop-up or 2 gold pop-ups or more, right? And that's where the good shit is. So if you if you pick one of them, like say this one, Black Hole Sun, right? So it tells you the episode title, which doesn't really mean much to new players, but it's just a little bit of a hint.
Little teaser. Yeah.
So let's plot a course for whatever that location might have been, and jump. Right? We get our nice little episode title. We've had this for a while. We show up at a location, right? And then you think, what the hell's going on here? Like, there's like a sort of a black hole in the background. and we get this phone call, right? Now, this episode was actually in Alpha 10. So some of our Alpha 10 players may have played this episode. But really I'm using it to highlight how episodes are actually delivered now, you know?
Right.
So you arrive at a location, it's classic Star Trek. There's somebody here in another ship, right? And they have a little bit of a storyline. In this case, it's about a brother who's trapped in close orbit of this black hole, right? Like he's all the way down here. He's like
Nice.
he's like a little dot. And, you know, we can say accept and accept that mission. So it's like the contract screen has been taken out of the loop, you know? And the episodes are now delivered in a more of like a sort of quest marker way, you know?
Yeah, it's organic, isn't it? It's in the world.
Yeah, exactly. So you get your little mission briefing, which I'll just skip through here. So this particular mission, it's a really cool mission. This is us here, Julian Martinez, and this is his brother Marcus, who's trapped. Like he jumped in too close to this black hole, and he's getting sucked in. And from our point of view, it looks like he's completely stationary because of time dilation. But
Cool.
you know, he needs a good rescue. So once you take these missions on, the sector map updates. Right, you'll find that here we are now. This is now revealed as Black Hole Sun. The other two are still available. Okay.
Right.
So if I go over to, let's try another one. Right, if we jump to Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, this is the one that we made for the alpha before the last alpha, I believe. So while this is in progress, so he's told me to go and collect some hyperspace isotopes and the like. I'm going to completely ignore him and jump to a different location for demonstration purposes. Right? We arrive at a new location. And this is the one where, if you remember, it's about chasing down black boxes from wrecked starships.
That's right. There's some pirates out there, aren't they? Taking out the...
Yeah, that's right. So they tell us that we need to get a hyperspace scoop. So a lot of new players will jump here without a hyperspace scoop. So your first objective is to... what am I talking about? Your first objective is to get a drone bay and some drones and collect this thing, right? It's like the game is sort of leading you forward about what you need to be doing, you know? So once you've collected the item, you get the follow-on phone call saying, "Bring it to me on board the Vanguard, sending our location now." Right. So we've collected the thing that this character wants. Go back to the sector map, and you'll find that Commander Harkin now shows up on the map as well as
Nice.
a gold location. Right. And so again, you're in the middle of this mission. Little bits of the mission objectives show up underneath. Return the flight recorder to Commander Harkin. Right, and the other locations, like there's Black Hole Sun, that's where the black hole was that we were just at. And here's a whole other mission that we haven't even investigated yet called The Trouble with Tidlets, which any of our long-standing players might recognise. So what I'm getting at here is that I feel like this part of the game has changed a lot, you know? And again, it's difficult for us because we're 3 years into the project, but from the point of view of a new player, they arrive in the game with this ship. They play a very short tutorial about how to get their ship up and running and how to fly around. And then they're immediately thrust into these kind of like what any other game would call like quests, you know?
Yes.
We call them episodes just because we're so enamored with Star Trek, but they're basically quests. And this is kind of what we see our players doing, isn't it? At the start of the game now. In fact, for a while at the beginning of the game. And I think this goes all the way back to what we were saying right at the absolute beginning of this monolithic conversation, which is that new players were just bouncing off this game hard. You know? No idea what to do. They've been dropped into a sort of Factorio industry thing that they don't quite understand. And, you know, nothing to make them kind of explore the world or find anything else that's going on, you know? And that's what we've been trying to address. But I think we're in our final form. That's what I think. For the first third of the game.
Yes,
I think that's what
exactly.
I think. The short tutorial. You can see now I've completed part of the. I've now got 2 episodes in progress, and now my sector map is even more lit up with mission locations. You know, I've got stuff to do all over the sector. Like this was a dream for us a year and a half ago. You know, that the sector map would become a place that there would be quest markers that you could go and do, and it's taken us a long time to reach this point. But I think this is the right way to go.
Yeah.
At least for the start.
100%.
With the idea, obviously, being that as you're playing all these episodes, you're learning to play the game. and you're getting drawn into the game, and the reasons to play the game are given to you. You know, I think we were relying a bit too much previously on players figuring out what to do.
Yeah.
Like we tried to. I think what happened was we tried to make an open world game in space, and I don't think we succeeded. And now I would say that we're more like I think we're more like a story-driven space game now at the start, which is mad because it means we've probably changed genre slightly again. Because for a little while, I think we were an automation industry game.
Well, yeah.
Before that, we were a survival roguelike. I think we launched as a survival roguelike.
Yeah, you've liked to, kind of be more. You've used those labels a lot more than I have, right? Like to me, I've seen it as components upon which we can build something. So all of the Space Factory sort of capability is still in the game, right? We've not taken it out.
Yeah.
It's just that's not where you start off, right?
Well, and it's going to become an episode now, which is where it probably should be, right? So
exactly.
So on the sector map, when you're at the core location, you'll learn about the project to build the Stargate, and it'll be a mission like any other. It'll be a story episode. It's not currently in the game because we pushed it all to one side.
In pieces on the floor.
It's in pieces on the floor. You can still build the Stargate. Like it's all still here. You see all this? This is all still the same. So you obviously can continue your Stargate project, but the game just doesn't open with that anymore. Which I think totally makes sense. So my view is that there needs to be a really good story episode that's all about building ships and designing ships.
Yeah.
Like a contract, like a government contract or something to design a ship. And then as a result of playing that episode, you go all through, because we invested tons of time in the ship editor,
Yeah.
Like hundreds of hours of work making the ship editor, and no new players find it because it's not part of the game.
That's it.
It's
There's
like a side
no driver. Yeah.
We've learnt some hard lessons, I think, making this game, haven't we?
Yeah. But we're back on track.
Yeah. So so that's, I think we've probably yacked enough about story episodes, haven't we? I think this is the crux of it. This whole new map stuff. So I mean, I haven't really mentioned it while we've been playing, but you might have seen like the HUD has changed quite a bit. Now we have not released this before. This was almost ready for Alpha 10, but not quite. I got so sick of the old HUD, To remind ourselves, this was the old HUD. This is where it was. So we had our list of resources up here at the top, and we had our like main construction bar down here at the bottom. It's just a line of words, and it was only ever meant to be like a placeholder, but somehow it never quite bubbled to the top as the most important thing to do. So I spent a while redoing it, and now it looks like this.
Yeah, it's
so you
cool.
can see we've moved. This is our critical resources list down on the left, and you can see it's all tool tipped up with important information, and anything that we're short of, like we've only got one FTL charge left, which is why it's blinking at me, as a warning. And then the main toolbar is replaced with a set of proper icons. I've moved the tactical button down to the bottom right since it's such an important button, flicking between these two states. And I've shifted all of the layer stuff to this new widget that lets you toggle through the different layers of your ship.
Yeah,
almost
nice.
almost like a vertical stack,
Yeah.
From going from top to bottom. It just makes so much more sense. And we have these new like quick summary options up here, right? So you have your hull level, your oxygen level, and your energy level. And this ship doesn't happen to have any batteries. But these three readings are kind of like the three most important elements of your ship, If you take hull damage, it shows up here. If you have, this is your oxygen level, and if you all that work that we did forever ago, modelling the atmosphere of the ship and like the CO2 buildup and stuff, is all reflected in this one little bar, as a quick summary. So if you get a CO2 buildup, it shows up here.
It's nice.
And if your power supply shows up short, that shows up here too. It's basically how it should have been from the start.
And I think that's okay, right? Because you can have a really splendid HUD and everything's looking great, but if the game's rubbish, then there's no point, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I feel like we've never we've never been able to reach that point of feeling safe in the last Starship, where it's like, look, the game is solid now. The start of the game is solid. We've got a constant wave of new players coming in. We're free now to, to start polishing up the HUD and all that stuff. Yeah, so those are the core new features, like the new head-up display, the new sector map with its glowing location markers, and the new focus on episodes. I think we're finally the ship is pointing in the right direction now.
Yes.
I know the answer to this, but I am asking you to explain it really. What is the plan going forward? Like, should we change it all again next alpha?
No.
Alpha 12?
No. The opening of this game is done now. Yeah. However, I'm sure there'll be bugs, right? I'm sure there'll be bugs and tweaks and that's why it's so exciting.
We actually need to watch. We need to watch some people play the new tutorial.
That's right.
That's
right.
But the thing is,
look at
the new tutorial is just a heavily edited version of the old tutorial. Like, we pushed a lot of it to later. I think this is a much better start. And I think
it's not just a tutorial, is it? It's the whole early game, right?
The tutorial rolls straight into the episodes. Yeah. And I think we're going to continue to put more effort into the episodes, aren't we? We've got lots of plans there for more Star Trek style story episodes.
Miro board, and I think the challenge now is for us, as always is for Introversion, right? The where the line is between the procedural generation kind of open stuff, right, and the narrative constraint, right, and that's where the magic is. And I know that you've got some great ideas, some really exciting ideas that have been bubbling away for a little while. Yeah. About how we might be doing that, certainly within kind of the combat domain and all the rest of it. So
my thinking now is that the episode system is how we introduce virtually every concept of the game wrapped up in an episode. But then we kind of we still have our world, right? We still have everything. We still have other ships buzzing around. We still have hostile ships everywhere. We still have the Stargate in the background. Do you know what I mean? We have these things that exist outside of an episode, that will continue to exist outside of an episode. And by the time the player gets to those parts of the game, they'll already be, many hours into their playthrough. They'll already have a little miniature fleet of their own. They'll understand the core concepts of the game much better than where we left players before. And that's when I think we're probably at that point then when we can start getting back to the mid-game stuff, that we were doing before.
And so I think it's also good that you and I have got slightly different views on how coherent we sort of want the world to be. But again, we're in early access, right? So the people out there watching this video will have their own opinions and tell us in the comments, right? Because we read them all, we look for the feedback, and I think going forward, we're going to see more videos, more comms going out there.
Yeah, I don't think it's not our intention to skip alpha videos, is it? It's just that we just. No. That when it's coming up to the Alpha 10 video, we were so in the middle of everything, and it was taking so long, we just couldn't do it. But I think that, I don't know, it's just so difficult. It's like writing a ship, isn't it? It's like changing the direction of a tanker.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
That's it.
And
that's it.
Yeah, I feel I feel like we've made it to that point now, so we should be back on track. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's one person in the world hard enough to change the direction of a tanker with just her hands, it's Vasquez.
Hey, Vasquez. Have you ever been mistaken for a man?